Hey Ravens fans, I'm Ryan Mink. I am joined here by Ravens Director of College Scouting, Joe Hortiz, back from Indianapolis in Owings Mills, and we're going to talk about some of the highlights you saw from the NFL scouting combines. Ozzie had mentioned that you're always looking for more pass rush help. Were there a lot of good pass rushers at the combine?
Yes, there's a lot. This is a good year, for teams, and it's the tweeners. It's the same thing every year. There's a lot of guys that are tweeners. Whether they're true 4.3 ends, 3.4 projections, or guys that played in the 34 in college. But a lot of guys, there's some 34 linebackers there that teams wanted to work out as a 4.3 DN, and vice versa. There are plenty of 4.3 DNs that we worked out as outside linebacker.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of pass rushers in this year's draft. Elite ones, yes, not as many elite ones as some years, but there's some really good ones throughout the draft, and it's a pretty deep group in terms of outside backers.
Now, when the Ravens are working out a guy like that, or the defense is so versatile, it can flip between a 3-4 and a 4-3. Right. So you work them out at both those positions, or how do you do that?
Well, we kind of try to project them through watching film and making an evaluation of their athleticism and their ability. It helps when they drop in college. It helps whether it's the fire zone drop as a 4.3 end, or if they're a true 3-4 outside backer who drops the curl flats and does a little bit of man on the backs. If they don't do it, then the workouts become critical. There's some 4.3 ends that never drop off, and when they don't drop off, you got to put them through the ringer in terms of working out. A lot of linebacker drills. You really got to see him move around. How's he bend? Can he open his hips? Can he change directions? What's his foot speed look like when he's moving backwards? Can he transition? Most of those guys that are 4.3 ends, they're naturally going to look more comfortable going forward, especially at the combine. They haven't done a lot of drop. They're not as experienced in it. So when they get to the combine and they start doing those linebacker drills, they look great when they're coming forward, either as a rusher or when they're planning and driving up from their drop, and they look a little awkward moving backwards. So you got to understand that and know that you anticipate that, but you just look to make sure you're looking for the guys that you think are athletic enough to do it, and then also intelligent enough to handle that versatility that we require from our positions at outside backer, rush, and Sam.
Right. Well, one interesting name there would be Chandler Jones, Art Jones's little brother.
Right.
Totally different body type from Art.
Completely.
Just right, long and lean.
Right.
When you look at him, I mean, do you still see some of Art in him?
Oh yeah, you look at it in the face and you're talking to him. You see, it's funny. He's just a long, skinny version of Art. They both have the same type of smile. They certainly, you can tell they're brothers in terms of their mannerisms, how they look, and their smile's a dead giveaway in my opinion. Great kid. He's a 4.3 defensive end.
Right.
He's played that. He has not done a lot of dropping. He's done some, but he's a guy that for our defense, he'll either have to get bigger and move inside to a 5 technique, or he's going to have to develop as a dropper. Now what he does do, he's like his brother. He plays hard. He plays with a high motor, and he's a smart football player. So you know what you're getting. We know what we got in Art, and whoever gets Chandler is going to get the same type of player in terms of loves football, tough guy with intelligence and passion. So.
Right. Another Alabama guy, Courtney Upshaw. Yeah. We'll keep it rolling. Yeah. Just what do you see from Courtney? Is he an explosive player? I know that's what some of the pundits were saying, that they see a lot of him, but not as many explosive plays as some of these other pass rushers.
Yeah, I think he's pretty explosive. I think, maybe you don't see the explosive speed burst from the wide rush techniques, but you talk about a physically explosive man. He beats tight ends up. He powers through offensive tech. A lot of guys have to work around. He can work through. And if violent on contact, violent tackler, violent taken on blocks. Really, what he's done to some SEC tight ends is a shame. He beats them up. He plays aggressive. He's tough. He's physical. He can set the edge how we like to do it here in Baltimore, and he can rush the passer. And he's a good bender coming off, and he can really get under. He forklifts 320-pound SEC tackles, and that's impressive to me. So he may not have the explosive speed, the 4.5, going to just run right by you on the edge, but if he can't get by, he's probably going to work right through your outside shoulder.
Right. Now, toss out a few names that probably are those guys that will just burn past offensive tackles. A guy like Melvin Ingram out of South Carolina, Nick Perry, you know, and you have Whitney Mercilus, who had 16 sacks, kind of came out of nowhere last year. When you look at a guy like Whitney, he came out of nowhere. How do you judge that? I mean, to sort out whether he's a flash in a pan or what?
Right. Well, he's a junior, so they get a little bit more leeway in terms of coming out of nowhere.
Right.
If he's a senior, it's like, wow, where's this guy been?
Right.
As a junior, he sat behind guys his first 2 years, and he played as a sophomore, and they actually used him inside and outside as a rusher. He got some time early, and then he just kind of played behind some seniors and some upperclassmen. Fantastic year this year, 16 sacks, and he did it. He didn't do it in bunches. He did it consistently. He had a sack here, 2 sacks there, and he's done it. He does it a variety of ways, inside and out. So you don't hold it against him that it's a 1 year, but it's like you do in your head, say, gosh, why? What you ask the question, why wasn't he more productive last year?
Right.
And you find out from the coaching staff and try to come up with the answers that way.
Right. And what did you see from Ingram and Perry?
Yeah, Perry ran well. I mean, he's a big man. I can't remember what his weight was, but he's a big man.
Right.
And he's kind of that tweener guy, 4'3" end, 3'4" outside backer. Thought he moved well. His speed, like I said, was impressive for a guy who's doing linebacker drills. I thought he controlled himself well, and that's the biggest thing you look for, those guys that aren't used to doing. How do they control their body? Are they stumbling and look gangly and awkward, or are they under control, moving? Maybe they're not doing as fast as they will in the future once they get used to it. But I thought he helped himself at the combine. Ingram, a guy who's very versatile. He's a 1-year starter, believe it or not.
Wow.
But he's led his team in sacks as a junior.
Right.
He lines up inside and outside. He rushes from inside and outside. He beats guards. He goes out and beats tackles. He beats running backs. So he's a guy with a lot of versatility who plays hard. He's been a good special teamer throughout his career there at South Carolina. So he's a guy that'll have a lot of value to a drafting team.
Right, right. Well, great. Thank you, Joe, for sitting down with us.
Absolutely.
And you can keep it locked here on BaltimoreRavens.com as we lead you up to the NFL Draft.